Look at this wall. Every stone in it weighs more than a truck, and they fit together so perfectly you cannot slide a knife between them. It was built by people with no iron tools and no wheel. This temple is older than the pyramids, older than writing, older than farming itself. And this machine is 2,000 years old, yet it could predict eclipses of the sun. For every one of the places you are about to see, we know exactly who is capable of building it. Us. What we still cannot fully explain is how. These are 12 ancient structures that, by everything we think we know, simply shouldn't exist. And number 1 rewrites the story of civilization itself. Let's begin. Number 12. Sacsayhuamán, in the hills above Cusco, Peru. These are the walls the Inca raised more than 500 years ago, and some of the limestone blocks inside them weigh over 100 tons. But the weight is not the mystery. Look at how they fit. Each stone was shaped with dozens of angles to lock into its neighbors, with no mortar and no cement, so tightly that after 5 centuries and countless earthquakes, you still cannot slip a single sheet of paper into the seams. The Spanish conquistadors who arrived here refused to believe that human beings had made it. And to this day, no one is completely certain what tools allowed a people with no iron chisels to carve rock this hard, this precisely. Number 11. The Nazca Lines of southern Peru. Scratched into the desert floor around 2,000 years ago, there are hundreds of them. A hummingbird nearly 100 meters across. A monkey with a great spiral tail. A spider. A condor with a wingspan the length of a football field. But here is what makes them impossible to ignore. From the ground, they're almost invisible, just shallow trenches in the dirt. You can only see what they truly are from high up in the air. So the people who made them designed enormous, flawless drawings that they themselves could never have seen finished. How they held the proportions perfect across such vast distances, on ground they had no way to view from above, is a puzzle archaeologists still argue about today. Number 10. The Barabar Caves in Bihar, India. These are the oldest surviving rock-cut caves in the country, carved more than 2,200 years ago during the reign of the Emperor Ashoka. They were hollowed straight out of solid granite, one of the hardest stones on Earth. But that is not the strange part. Run your hand along the inner walls, and they are polished to a glass-smooth, almost mirror finish. It is the famous marine polish, so fine that the surface still reflects light like metal, and a single whisper inside sends echoes rolling around the chamber. We have modern power tools that struggle to reach this finish on granite. How ancient craftsmen achieved it entirely by hand, we honestly do not know. Number 9. Beneath a quiet town in the Cappadocia region of Turkey hides Derinkuyu, an entire city carved downward into the earth. It plunges roughly 85 meters deep, 18 levels of tunnels, rooms, stables, kitchens, wine presses, and chapels, all cut from soft volcanic rock. At its peak, it could shelter as many as 20,000 people, along with their food and their livestock, and then seal itself off with enormous round stone doors that could only be rolled shut from the inside. And here's the most unsettling detail of all. It was completely forgotten. In 1963, a man knocking down a wall in his basement uncovered a mysterious passage and rediscovered a hidden city large enough to hold a small nation. Number 8. Off the coast of Pohnpei, in the middle of the Pacific Ocean, sits Nan Madol, often called the Venice of the Pacific. It is a city of more than 100 artificial islands, built on a coral reef and laced with canals, and its walls are stacked from gigantic columns of black basalt, some weighing several tons each. In total, the site holds an estimated 750,000 tons of stone, hauled and floated into place between roughly 1200 and 1500 AD by an island people who, even at their height, may have numbered only in the tens of thousands. There are no written records of how they moved that much rock across open water. The people of Pohnpei say the stones simply flew there by magic. Archaeologists just admit that they are not sure. Number 7. In eastern China, near the village of Shiyan-Beitsuan, lie the Longyou Caves. In 1992, villagers set out to pump dry a pond they believed was bottomless, and instead drained it to reveal a vast, silent chamber carved by human hands. There are at least 24 of them, cut into solid sandstone, some as tall as a 5-story building, their walls covered in precise, parallel chisel marks like the grooves of a giant record. Together, the workers would have removed nearly 1 million cubic meters of stone. And yet here is the riddle that stuns engineers. There is no trace of where all that rock went, and not one single line in China's enormous written history so much as mentions them. A project this immense, built by no one that anyone remembers. Number 6. Stonehenge, on Salisbury Plain in England. Probably the most famous ancient monument on Earth, and still one of the most baffling. The giant outer stones came from close by, but the smaller inner blue stones, each weighing up to a few tons, were somehow carried all the way from the Preseli Hills in Wales, around 250 kilometers away, roughly 5,000 years ago. 250 kilometers, with no wheels, no draft animals proven for the task, and no metal tools. Why a Stone Age people would drag these specific stones across half of Britain to raise a ring aligned precisely with the movements of the sun is a question we have been asking for centuries and have never fully answered. Number 5. In Baalbek, Lebanon, stand the ruins of a colossal Roman temple, and beneath it, the largest carved stones humans have ever moved. 3 enormous blocks in the temple's foundation, known together as the trilithon, each weigh around 800 tons. To picture that, imagine the weight of roughly 3 fully loaded jumbo jets, lifted and set into a wall several meters off the ground, and fitted with jeweler's precision. And they are not even the biggest. Still lying in the nearby quarry is the stone of the pregnant woman, at around 1,000 tons, and beside it, an even larger monolith estimated at over 1,600 tons. We do not have a single crane today that could lift them. How anyone did it 2,000 years ago remains one of engineering's greatest unanswered questions. Number 4. High on the Bolivian Altiplano, nearly 4,000 meters above sea level, lie the shattered remains of Puma Punku, part of the ancient Tiwanaku complex, built roughly 1,500 years ago. Scattered across the ground are blocks of hard andesite and sandstone, carved into shapes that look almost machined. Perfectly flat faces, sharp interior right angles, and identical H-shaped blocks, so uniform they seem stamped from a single mold. The stones were cut so precisely that they interlock like modern building components. Working andesite this cleanly is difficult even with diamond tools, and the people of Tiwanaku left no written language to tell us how they managed it. The site looks less like a ruin and more like a kit of parts, abandoned halfway through assembly. Number 3. The Great Pyramid of Giza. The last of the 7 wonders of the ancient world still standing, and after 4,500 years, still astonishing. It is built from an estimated 2.3 million stone blocks, some as heavy as an elephant, stacked to a height of nearly 150 meters. For almost 4,000 years, it remained the tallest structure humans had ever built. But the number that truly stops engineers is its precision. The pyramid's base is level to within a couple of centimeters across more than 5 hectares of ground, and its 4 sides are aligned to true north to within a small fraction of a single degree. That is more accurate than many buildings we put up today, achieved by a civilization with no compass and no modern surveying tools at all. Number 2. In the year 1901, divers exploring a Roman shipwreck off the Greek island of Antikythera pulled up a lump of corroded bronze about the size of a shoebox. For decades, no one grasped what it was. Then X-ray scans finally revealed the truth. Hidden inside were at least 37 interlocking gears, machined with a delicacy that would not be seen again anywhere in Europe for over 1,000 years. It is the Antikythera Mechanism, an analog computer built more than 2,000 years ago. By simply turning a handle, its ancient user could predict the positions of the sun and moon, forecast eclipses years in advance, and even track the 4-year cycle of the Olympic Games. Nothing else this complex appears anywhere in the record for another 15 centuries. It is a piece of technology that, for its time, absolutely should not exist. And number 1, on a dusty hilltop in southeastern Turkey stands Göbekli Tepe, and it may be the single most important discovery in the entire history of archaeology. These massive, T-shaped stone pillars, some over 5 meters tall and carved with foxes, scorpions, vultures, and snakes, were raised around 11,600 years ago. Let that number sink in. This temple is more than 6,000 years older than Stonehenge, and it beats the pyramids by roughly 7,000 years. It was built before pottery, before writing, before metal, and, astonishingly, before human beings had even invented farming. For over a century, we believed that civilization came first and only then did people build temples. Göbekli Tepe turns that story completely upside down. It suggests that the urge to gather and build something sacred is what pulled scattered hunter-gatherers together in the first place. That the temple may have come before the town, a monument that doesn't just look impossible. It quietly rewrites who we thought we were. 12 structures scattered across the ancient world, tied together by a single, unsettling idea. Our ancestors were capable of far more than we usually give them credit for. Every one of these was built by human hands. No aliens, no magic. And yet each one still guards a secret we have not fully cracked. So which of them amazed you the most? Tell me down in the comments. And if you want more of the world's greatest mysteries, there's another one waiting for you right there on your screen. This has been Wondersphere. Keep wondering.